So we arrive in Budapest, and somehow we ended up with this fellow, with the family, with his family. And what follows was one of the most traumatic events of my life, because he was supposed to take care of me, but what happened, there was a teenager boy in that family. He said, "Come with me." And we went to a place called Király utca, which is Király, it's kings in Hungarian street. And there was a restaurant where many Polish Jews would congregate, and he just left me there. And when I think about it, it still brings many rough feelings. What happened there, they started collecting money for me. And I didn't want to accept any money. My parents told me never to take money from anybody. And finally, what happened? A woman who worked as a maid in a Hungarian family took me, and she was also a Jewish from Poland, and I stayed the night with her. And I will never forget, in the morning she gave me cherries, and I didn't have cherries for a long time, and I ate a lot, and I ended up with diarrhea. And then the sort of, for weeks, there was a lady, a Mrs. Schweitzer, who was a fantastic woman, and who basically gave me money to sleep in different places where many illegals would sleep. And most of the day I stayed on the street, basically. And that would visit this Polish cafe in Hungary. My wife and I went to Budapest recently, and right now the restaurant is gone, but the store is still there. And after a few weeks, they set up an orphanage for many of the kids. I was not the only kid living on the street, so to speak. Some nights I would go and sleep. The synagogues were still, the Hungarian Jews were free. There was no ghetto or anything at that time in Hungary. This was 1943. And I would sometimes sleep in a synagogue and sneak out in the morning, because the synagogues didn't want people to sleep there. Sleeping in those places for the illegals, there was tremendous number of lice and bed bugs, and you woke up in the middle of the night, and you were all bitten up. It was not a pleasant situation. Finally, I didn't have any family, and I sort of daydreaming as to how I can get reunited, all sorts of fantasies with my father, with my mother. And I said, well, I was about 11 years old at that time. I was thinking of maybe I'll just get a boat. There is a Danube River in Budapest, and just go by boat to reunite with my mother. There were all sorts of fantasies like this I had. Eventually, my aunt, my mother's sister, came to Hungary, and she came to visit me at the orphanage. And then, a few months later, my mother arrived, and I heard that my mother is in Budapest, I ran away from the orphanage with another kid, and we took the train. We were in Vác, which is maybe 30, 40 miles from Budapest, and we started looking for my mother. Well, by that time, my mother came to visit me in the orphanage, so we went back to the orphanage, and I reunited with my mother.